Welcome once again to The Icons. I'm your host, the sports professor Rick Horrow. Usually on this show, we focus on iconic sports personalities. Today, we shed the spotlight on an iconic brand. On this episode, we're in Dallas at the headquarters of HKS, the brains behind the iconic stadiums SoFi in California, AT&T Stadium, and US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Let's get started by going inside the icon. HKS was founded 85 years ago in Dallas as an architectural firm. Today, they're one of the largest and most celebrated design companies in the world. HKS currently has 26 offices from here in Dallas all the way to Dubai and employs 1,500 people across the globe. In addition to their work in sports, HKS is also one of the top design companies in the world in health and hospitality. Everything from airport terminals to university campuses are part of HKS's portfolio. On this episode, we'll talk with Mina Krenick, HKS's Global Practice Director for Venues, and Dan Noble, HKS's President and CEO.
When I started in the firm, we were, 1983.
Yeah.
We were 150 people, and through the years, we've ebbed and flowed. I became CEO 10 years ago,
Right.
and we're about 800 people. We're about 1,600 now. It used to be that we were a Dallas-centric firm. In fact, when I started, our only office was Dallas. Now, as you said, we have 26 offices worldwide, and 2/3 of the people that work with HKS are outside of Dallas.
Yeah.
So we've got a global footprint.
Well, you're an international architectural/development firm that happens to be a sports architect as part of its subset, which is why when you think about all of this, it couldn't have come at a better time. Sports is interesting as far as spectator gathering, creates a lot of attention. Obviously, US Bank, Indianapolis, Dallas, but it's not the exclusive core of your practice, obviously.
No, yeah. Sports for us is, I don't know the exact figure, but it's probably about 25% of our revenue, maybe closer to 20% of our revenue. Our biggest revenue generator is health, but our practices cross-pollinate.
Yep.
So the expertise in, say, health can lead into the health science of sports. How you control crowds in sports can feed into how you develop circulation patterns in hotels and resorts. So there's things you learn from our deep expertise within each of our practices that's transferable to our other practices and making each one of them even richer.
Which is an incredibly important point to think of. You've spoken from time to time in a variety of places, the architectural organizations, the civic organizations. Just a few comments that I'd like to get your reaction to. You've said many times we're living through a time of accelerating change, demographic, economic, geopolitical, social, environmental, and technological. How important is it to get out ahead of those changes and be creative about that?
It's essential. And I think that's the job of the leaders of the firm, is to think about, I've used the phrase borrowed from Wayne Gretzky,
Right.
Skate to where the puck's going to be. You got to anticipate that. You got to look around corners. You got to think about the future. You've got to understand what's going to make you relevant. If not, what you do today will become commoditized. And I've always said what can be commoditized, what can be automated, will be commoditized and automated. So we've got to stay out in front of that and think about, okay, if that's the case, let's use that to our advantage. Let's not be victims of that. Let's be the authors of what that future state looks like. And by getting out in front of it, by bringing in PhDs into our architecture firm, by bringing in technology experts, by bringing in professional athletes, scientists, sociologists, anthropologists, by bringing them into our facility, into our think tank, and getting their input into what we think the design community is like, but bringing in these other outside influences, it just makes a more robust, well-rounded, and meaningful picture into the future. We're really in this to make our communities better, to make the people that inhabit our buildings happier, to make our clients happier, and our clients want to come back to us.
Here's the other piece which is really, really important and has been a theme all over this place. Beautiful spaces that help address things like climate change, mental health crisis, and even systematic inequality and pandemic control. That's pretty significant, pretty heavy. Talk about it.
Well, so, when I was, you asked me about did I ever see myself in this position, and of course I didn't, but when I was thinking about the future, all I was thinking about was buildings. Designing a building, the science of art of putting together a building. But we weren't really thinking back then as much about what else does that building do? What are the behavioral aspects of what that building does? Can it actually make a more healing environment in a hospital? Can it create a more favorable fan experience in a football stadium? Can it create more longevity with your workforce in the workplace? If you think about it, to train a new employee costs about $150,000. So if you're going to invest in something, why not invest in an environment where you keep your employees working with you in a place where they want to work longer? So it's looking at kind of the full cycle aspects of the built environment and how that affects people. And it's not monolithic. It's not this myopic idea of I'm an architect, I design a building and a contractor builds it. We are thinkers that happen to deal in creating space for people. And what does that entail? That entails how you live in it, what you breathe in that building, how you interact in that building. And then you think about the different building types and all the specific criteria that are different for a hospital, a sports facility, a resort, a classroom, an office building, a laboratory, and they all have different needs. And by bringing in research, we spend about 5% of our profits back into R&D. That's purely, and it's open source. We let the rest of the world see it. But we feel like, a rising tide lifts all ships. And we're really in this to make our communities better, to make the people that inhabit our buildings happier, to make our clients happier, and our clients want to come back to us for more interaction and collaboration. So the idea of what an architect is, in my mind, has changed drastically in the last, say, 15 years, maybe decade, but the quantum leap hasn't yet happened. With AI and with what's happening with rapid learning, with the digital twins and buildings, so you can predict the performance of a building with your digital twin, fine-tune it in that digital twin, and then apply that to the building.
I was just going to say, if somebody refers to you as a technology company, you're not going to immediately correct them, right? Because blockchain, AI, all of that stuff, which people would have thought was separate, is not separate. It's a core of your existence now.
Yep. That's why I say, and I say it almost to, just poke the bear a little bit, but I say, in the future we may be a technology company that happens to practice architecture. Now, I overstate that a bit, but in a way, not really, because we use technology for everything. And this explosion of AI, which we're just seeing now, who knows where that's going to take us. But right now, you can speak into your phone and say words like Frank Lloyd Wright, sustainability, house, Florida, wood construction. And you'll get hundreds of images just based on what you said. And then you can, from that, start to massage those images. I'm not saying that's a good way to design, but it's here. So how do you harness that? How do you take that technology and understand that can be an ally or that can be an enemy? And how do you make it an ally? Your asset are the athletes. And how do they get the most out of that athlete? How do they draw the highest peak performance out of that athlete? And it's fascinating that it's nutrition, it's food, it's training, it's collaboration, and psychology. There's so much involved in it.
Let's segue, not really a segue because it's all part of this whole experience, into some of the sports technology and sports architecture you're known very well for. You basically created the curve early on. You took the next step in the curve at AT&T and Indy and Minnesota and now SoFi. And And when you talk to owners who react, they can be very specific about how beautiful a building is, and then they get anecdotal. What you've done also is design buildings from the revenue out so people can really understand that what you do is make a profit center more profitable. Talk to us a little.
Yeah, so we, each of those cities you mentioned, each of those stadiums you mentioned is in a different city. All of those cities have different demographics.
Right.
They have different client bases. They have different spending habits. And we study that, and we try to determine what is going to be the most successful combination of product in that facility, in that stadium, to generate more income. What can you do with branding? What can you do off-site? What can you do with their digital platform, their social platform? What could you do maybe for alternative environments that are not at the site? For instance, there's a World Cup at SoFi. There's how many people can actually go see that at SoFi? Well, if we create environments throughout the world, microsites, where people can watch that event live and get a real fan experience, that just increases that exposure of that facility and of that brand. And then you get into how do you create a more enjoyable fan experience. SoFi Stadium is open air. The Southern California climate's wonderful. We took 100 years of data on weather patterns and used that data to help us inform how to shape the building, how to shape that curvilinear form, what panels to open. There's thousands of panels on that skin.
I see 35. Is that really? There are 35,000 of those panels?
Different panels.
Yeah, different panels, right.
Unique panels. All of them have a different perforation pattern to let air and light in at different rates.
One of the things that everybody out here are stadium fans or sports fans, but they're also life fans. And the kind of things you bring to the table are sometimes subtle as well. Globe Life Park, we'll do features on that down the road. And I was told yesterday that it is 42 feet from the front box to home plate. That's Jackie Robinson's number. How would you know that? I mean, these are things that most normal people don't deal with, and you go the extra mile.
Yeah, it in a way it doesn't matter if they know it or not. Kind of intuitively, yeah. I think they feel it.
Yeah.
They don't know, this feels good. I don't know why, but this feels good.
Yeah.
And it's our job to understand what is it that makes these places feel good. I was just at the Yankee game this weekend.
The 15-2 one?
No, the Saturday game.
By the way, I just want to, we all understand we tape these shows, and when we're taping this, the Rangers are pretty darn good. Now, when we air this, we're going to see. We may be lining up playoff tickets or not. We'll
right
see.
Now they're in first place.
Yeah, right now, we know that. Put
Right.
the marker on that.
But I went down into the Lexus room, the Lexus food court, and I'm looking out onto the field, and I can see the pitcher's mound.
Yeah.
I'm below the pitcher's mound.
Right.
I can see it, so you get a feel there of you see a 98-mile-an-hour fastball down there, eye level, from the side. It's a completely different experience than watching it up in the stands.
Yes, it is. And by the way, if you ever want to wonder whether the Rangers overpaid for like DeGrom or something, watch the curveball from down there. It'll be start here, it's over here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You wonder how they can hit it.
Yeah, no, they can't.
It's like they're guessing when it leaves the hand.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of other things that transcend, obviously not just sports. So when your great staff talked about impacting human health and performance at work, on the playing field, in a classroom, emergency department, anywhere else, and not only positive, making you feel good, mental health, the brain health partnership, the sensory well-being hubs, it is hard for coaches to understand that a happy player is a better player. People who are comfortable in experiences will live longer and be healthier physically and mentally. That's something that you don't expect architectural firms to do.
Yeah. I was just in Hokkaido in our baseball stadium we designed there, and just had the opening a month ago. And 40,000 fans in a full stadium. But we had a tour of the facility before the game, and the amount of space dedicated to human performance in that stadium is astounding. There are physiologists, dietitians, weight trainers, psychologists, yoga rooms, so many different training rooms, so many different meeting rooms for strategists, for coaches. It was like the stadium was the final aspect of all of the elements that go into the enterprise.
It's kind of like a laboratory.
Yeah, it's a huge laboratory, and the behind-the-scenes stuff is just as large as what the fans see, what the spectators see. But behind the scenes, there's this, your asset are the athletes. And how do they get the most out of that athlete? How do they draw the highest peak performance out of that athlete? And it's fascinating that it's nutrition, it's food, it's training, it's collaboration, and there's psychology. There's so much involved in it, and there's spaces dedicated in these facilities to figure out how to nurture that in the athletes.
And the reason people come back to these environments and these experiences is because of that memory. So our goal here is really to kind of develop those sensory components.
Global Practice Director of Venues, Mina Krenik, HKS. We're here in the brain center of HKS, or corporate headquarters. Hi, how you doing?
Hey Rick, how's it going?
Wonderful.
We're thrilled you're here.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled I'm here because this is something that's, again, way beyond sports. The practice has evolved, and just by the nature of what you do kind of tells us about HKS's philosophy. You cut across sports, aviation, entertainment, government, commercial, medical, healthcare, all of that. So, talk about your day job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So much, right? Yeah. Being a creative director here at HKS, it's really about elevating the experience. From the moment people experience any building, it's about the moment they step out of their car, they approach a building, from the moment they might sign up for a ticket for arena, and how they walk through the space, and how all of that engagement is really about the true experience. And in today's world, a post-pandemic world, it's really about elevating that experience.
Well, and you've written a couple of things which are really important too. You view this world as encouraging emotional connections and prioritizing health, wellness, and human energy. You don't hear that a lot in the sports space, but you ought to. So talk about that.
Oh no, you've walked into stadiums where you feel the energy.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's the sound, it's what you see, it's what you're putting in your mouth, it's the engagement of everybody around you. So we do a lot at HKS about the sensory components. We say that to create a memory, you need to evoke two of those senses together, and that makes an imprint. And the reason people come back to these environments and these experiences is because of that memory. So our goal here is really to kind of develop those sensory components. It's been really interesting. I talked to a client recently that mentioned they want to have a scent in their stadium, an actual scent. When you walk into a hospitality environment, sometimes there's a scent.
Yeah.
It's an imprint in your brain.
Yeah.
So stadiums are looking at that. They're also looking at a certain sound that will create a memory for people that come to these stadiums. So, it's really important you think about across the board, really creating moments that create memories. We've been doing a lot with circadian lighting right now. A lot of spaces that don't have natural light, actually putting circadian light that works with the sun outside actually makes people feel better. You ever gone to a doctor's office and looked at your skin and it doesn't feel healthy?
Oh yeah.
A lot of it is about lighting, and I think as an interiors group at HKS, we're hyper-focused. It becomes another material within our built environments. As an athlete, you also have to feel creative, right? So how do you create your mind in a state of mind that allows you to have the highest performance?
Round 60,000 seat football squeezed into a baseball stadium. Sightlines are okay for 30% of the people. You increase the property tax, you get it done. And there are two tenant leases with cities. Philadelphia, Cincinnati, everybody. It's come a long way.
Circle, yeah.
And so as you think about it, one of the impressions of New Globe Life is 42 feet from the front super low boxes to home plate. Why is that important? Because they're honoring Jackie Robinson, number 42. We wouldn't have known that. I mean, these are things that are special. I mean, must be interesting to work in this environment because of that.
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting, Rick. I can't even tell you, like, to be future forward, to think about consumers today, how close they want to be with the athlete. How can they connect with the athlete? How can a fan participate in the event much more so than ever before? These are the things we're thinking about. We have to dive deep in where our consumers are today and where we want to take them. So there's so much level of demographic study, of understanding what the new future consumer wants. What does a fan want versus a content consumer in these environments? And we talked about entertainment before, right? Everything has to be quite intentional.
Yeah, and the other thing about performance and athletes, if you're selling athletic directors or team owners, and one of the things we learned is that if designed properly, these facilities will enhance performance. So when you take that to the next level, it's not just free agents who will want to go to a new cool place with a practice facility and a stadium, but actually you have a working environment that's key to mental health and happy players. And I assume happy players are going to be winning players. So at least that's what coaches might want to think.
Oh my gosh, it's so much about high performance. It's so much of, we talked about earlier circadian lighting, right? It's how do you get the right mental space as well as the physical space so people feel the most calm and the most, as an athlete, you also have to feel creative, right? So how do you create your mind in a state of mind that allows you to have the highest performance?